over 10, prayer 10 over 10. So thank you for being a complete package. And thank you for being an inspiration. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you, Dave.
Next to this one of God and that one of God. We call her AME Global, Indeed Global. Some of you who live under a rock, we don't know who she is. But I know we are men of value who know what's going on and know and respect talented, excellent people, internationally award-winning broadcaster, woman of God, mother of twins, Beji, a testimony in herself, Mairo-Ese. So I said I was very confident and comfortable with these ladies for this topic. The context of this conversation is, again, we have chosen, and deliberately so, to be men who want to lead better. Not just organizations, but our families, right? Men who want to love better. Because to be honest, a lot of us, or maybe not all, some of us struggle with expressing love, expressing vulnerability, because again, conditioning, right? You've seen and you've been told, or you've heard, you have to be strong, you have to stand, you have to do this, and now it's become, in quotes, a default identity, being stoic, right? And as men, there's that place where, of course, you want your partner, your husband, to open up to you. Sometimes it's difficult for us. Or where's that balance? What's the expectation really? What do you want? What is that place where, I want to be heard, I want to be spoken to? So again, that context of that conversation. And that point is, of course, we understand the hierarchy, man at the head, woman at the neck. There's elements of roles and responsibilities, but now in 2025, all of us work, all of us make money. In fact, in some cases, the women make more money than the men. Does that change the role? Does that change what your view as a woman is towards your husband? The person I'm meant to trust the most sees me as more. How should I lead this type of person? How should I defend this person who doesn't believe in me?
First of all, I'd like to honor everyone that is here. To me, the fact that you are here, you're a good man. Yeah. You are a good man. And let me just tell you, free of charge. First of all, one of the things that I think should set the tone today is that there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of noise. You will hear on the internet, on social media, how you should be. You will hear from our boys how you should be. You will hear things like, don't let any woman know how much you earn. You will hear things like, look, if you ever do that, you will forever do it. You will hear all sorts of, in quote, wisdom. But I beg to differ that if all that was truly wisdom, then why are marriages not flourishing? Why have we not decoded women, so to speak? It's because to me, there is what I would call superior wisdom. And today, one of the things I would like to share is that please don't hear generally, hear for yourself. The way superior wisdom works, it might not be a message for everybody. It's something for you. So please hear for yourself. Another tone I would like to set is that these women that we're saying we don't understand, what are they like? Why is it that we don't understand? You and I agree that we have agreed that women are reciprocal. Even David quoted the scripture, he said that Christ loved the church, that you should love your wife as Christ what? Loved the church. Who loved it? Who loved first? Christ. So the woman's role automatically from that scripture is reciprocal. I'm sure you've heard it before that a woman is an incubator, that whatever you give her, she'll work on it and give it back to you. So if you have it at the back of your mind that this woman, the energy I will get from her is dependent on the energy I give to her. This is a fundamental, before we start getting, practical. Understand, don't label your wife in a certain way or label women in a certain way. Understand that even by how God created her, she feeds from your energy. You understand? So it means that you are responsible for your marriage. Even the fact that God called you the head of your marriage means that you are responsible. So if God has made you the head, it means that you have what it takes. He has created you with what it takes to be that head. And by the way, you don't have to understand women. You just need to understand your wife. Honestly, at least in the context that we are speaking about. Now, let me go straight to the point. What do women want? I'm going to say 5 things. I'll go into one or two of them so that I don't talk for too long. But the first things that came to my mind, a woman wants you to lead. In today's time, the wife wants you to take the leadership in your home. A lot of, and I'm not talking general, I'm talking from experience, as he said. Many times, 2 out of 3 women will come to me and say, my husband is not driven enough. My husband is not, he doesn't lead. I'm always the one having to lead. And I'm tired of leading. A lot of women will tell me that he doesn't seem to, I don't even know where we're going. He doesn't share where we're going. And let me speak for the men a bit. Sometimes it isn't that you don't have vision. In fact, most times you have vision. But maybe you have not communicated it. So not only does she want a leader that has vision, that has the map, where are we going? She wants a leader that carries her along and shows her that this is where we are going. And that takes that lead, whether it is financial, whether it is spiritual. I also hear this, and be honest, if you're one of those, men will say, my wife respects her pastor more than me. She's willing to do whatever the pastor says. Perhaps you should be a pastor. What is she respecting her pastor? That's what it is. What is he doing? Perhaps because he's taking leadership spiritually. And she wants someone to do that. She wants you to lead. Even financially. You know, once we say finance, people get tense. If you are the leader of your home, okay, let me explain. When the father of the bride hands over the bride to the groom, what is he doing? Think about it. He's saying, I used to be responsible for this girl. But from today onwards, you will be responsible for her. And sorry to say, that includes finance. It does. So all what I'm saying is leadership. I'll say 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, she wants you to prioritize her. 3, she wants partnership. 4, she wants attention, intimacy. 5, she wants a safe space. That's all I'm going to say. You know what's funny? I asked my daughter before coming. I said, Timayo, what would you expect? What would you like in marriage? Do you know what she said? The first thing she said, it needs to be fun. I said, eh? But guess what? It does need to be fun. Is that even a goal for us? And let me tell you the fundamental thing. When you were trusting her, it was fun. You made it fun. You had a great strategy that you used to trap her. Then you now abandon your strategy. That I understand. But the problem is that it's not working. That mindset is not working. That's the thing. Meanwhile, you were able to convince her to marry you. I was talking about my daughter. After she said it needed to be fun, guess what she said then? I need to be independent. I was like, how did this young girl know to say this? She said, yes, she feels like the man should be doing great and that the woman too should be doing good. So her husband should be doing really good and she too should be doing really good. And that she sees that as a good marriage. I said, you're so right. I did not even think of that when I was saying partnership. Everybody says, oh, your wife is a helpmeet, so she should help you deliver your purpose. What about her purpose? You should both come together to help each other deliver their purpose. And let me tell you, by the way, it is in your interest to help your wife deliver her purpose because she will not nag you as much. She will not have time. I will jump quickly. I said partnership. I'm talking teamwork. We spoke about the traditional roles. I don't have any problem with traditional roles if it works for us. If you are better at this, then do it. If your wife is the better one at doing the generator, which I have seen, some women are very, tech, they're into tech and all that. Yeah. And I have also seen in my own situation, when we're traveling, it's my husband that takes care of everything. But I've seen situations where it's the wife. Yeah. But what is important? Teamwork. And moving quickly, I said number 4, intimacy. I think we'll discuss that later. By the way, let me quickly say it. Women want sex. Yes.
I'm surprised. Do say.
Yes, when we're talking about what women want, people don't remember to say sex. Yes, we say intimacy. We say we want you to be vulnerable. We will say we want you to be transparent. Let me tell you, don't you that if am now transparent and you are messing me up, I will not want to be transparent. But it is worth if you are not transparent because not having trust is worse than any other. And what happens when I cannot trust you, when you are not being transparent with me, even with finances, when you don't tell your wife how much you earn and all that, guess what? She's going to think you have billions. So please be honest. Be open. It builds trust. And if a woman trusts you, she will remove her head for you. Yes. Once she knows that you no. She will be willing to do whatever. I will use myself being an example is that my husband does not expect me because I'm earning such and such money that I'm the one that should do something. He doesn't put that expectation on me. He makes it clear that it's his responsibility. Then he allows me to offer. So I easily offer because this person has not lost the sense that you are responsible. Do you understand? And it also means that God will ask you about your marriage. Remember, who made you head of your marriage? God. Who's going to ask you? God. So it doesn't matter that you have these nice arguments that they are selling on the internet or on social media that covers for you. It doesn't matter that, we can say, we're now in the 21st century and you can have a good argument, but it will be good for you to take the argument to God. If it can fly, then you're good. I think I'll leave it here for now.
Pastor, thank you. Honestly, this is why you do what you do. And I will just build on the foundation that you've set up. But when did you say that I belong to a community of women, praying women circle? That's true. His wife is one of us. And so some of you, your wife might be in our group. We are currently at 998 women in the group, cut across different parts of the world. So I'm hoping, and to be honest, before he said it, before I came here, I shared with them. I said, I'm going here. I'm coming to represent your voices. Oh yeah, tell me what you want me to go and tell the men. And they shared, so I'm going to read out what they said. One of the things I want us to encourage us here is a mindset shift. There's always that thought around, there's a cold war, let me put it that way, between men and women. It's not obvious, there are no missiles, but covertly, there's just that thing of men versus women. And so usually we come into conversations like this being very defensive. We come into already feeling like, let the women too. And then if you're still single, the biggest advice from the group is marry a good woman, because a great marriage takes two great people to make it work. It can still work if you're already in, but it makes the journey easier. So a lot of things that Pastor Toyin was saying was because both of them are great people. So he's doing one because, to be honest, they are good men that are unfortunately married to women who are not good. And that's the truth. We've also seen very bad, females who probably have learned or heard from what Pastor Toyin was referring to on social media. And so even because we also have a single arm, and when you hear some of their expectations, like men, we need a whole reset around how we think of men or how we think of marriage. So I just want to encourage us here as well that just be open to that. The other is parenting is not a job for the mother alone. And we hear this a lot, that a lot of men leave the responsibility of raising, and not just in terms of paying school fees or telling Junior, don't do that. Or obviously I use Junior as a very common Nigerian language, but it's in the being present, in the going, helping out. Well, I didn't want to use the word help because I'm moved away from that. It's a joint responsibility. You're both raising your nation. So maybe one thing I'd like you to think about is how involved are you currently in raising your children? To what extent do you do it? Maybe the frustration your wife is feeling is that everything is on her shoulders, and so she just feels alone. You are married, but you feel like a single parent. Then the other part is marriage is 100, not 50-50. This one, please forgive my crassness, but I promised I was going to read it the way she sent it. She said, the penis is not polygamous in nature. And to be honest, we deal with a lot of fidelity. Every time they talk about men needing respect, we also talk about women needing respect as well. Now, the kind of women that we have want respect. It's not just love. In fact, some women actually take respect more than love. So that's the truth. When you flirt with a woman, you disrespect your wife. Even if it is harmless, the way that you would treat another female, let me just put it gently, may not even be flirting, but just the way that it's disrespectful to your wife. And let's have a middle ground. You might not do it all the time, but when you can see the circumstance demands that you put in more effort, do it. And if it's even in Nigeria, more help, do it. It doesn't change the fact that you're a man, it would actually make your wife respect you a bit more. So when you have it, live large. Even your wife self will put her legs on the table. But when you don't have it, do it. Be malleable. Then, now they went into intimacy. Touch your wife. Find out what she enjoys during intimacy and what turned her on. It's not just about you riding Jangalova and word for word. So they say that, be aware of your wife's needs, right? And teach your boys too. Don't just focus on the girls. Teach the boys how to be responsible, so that you're also the one to role model for their sons in you. Sex is so much more than men. They spoke a lot, and they speak a lot about sex in a group. And let me say, women are frustrated in marriage, and I agree totally with Pastor Toyin that when in premarital counseling, many of us can testify that a lot of attention is don't serve your husband, don't deprive your husband, but there's not a lot around what a man should do to please his wife. Maybe in more modern, like in Eden, you would have that balance. So it takes an intentional man to actually want to pleasure his wife, to ensure that she's also satisfied. And usually the best. Well, what I feel works is when the wife is satisfied first, because it's easier for a man. And for a man, once you're sated, that is it. It's difficult to begin to. But once she's done, she can still keep going for your own satisfaction. So a good formula, in quotes, or something recommended is let her, do the foreplay, let her get her satisfaction, and then you can come, because after that, both of you then are there. So that helps a lot. Pardon? Thank you. Ladies first. Ladies first. So maybe just remember the principle of ladies first. And honestly, it makes for a better sexual relationship. A lot of men complain about initiation, women initiating. And I think maybe from what some of the women have said in the past is that sometimes it's just not, it's not part of their culture. You've been raised, especially for Christian girls, all your life about sex, almost demonizing it, and then they want you to switch like that in one day. So maybe I would ask is patience, and you as her husband, teach her how to be liberated with her body. Then just go on. Communication is crucial. It is a virtue that must be learned in order to avoid assumptions and have a blissful home. So openly communicate in the way that we say that we cannot read minds. Somebody said, "Can they just read minds?" Is it that it's not that hard? I'm joking. But the truth is that men lead in every way, and the way that you communicate sometimes would inspire her openness. If I put it that way. So if you're also open, you start out, it will be very great. Then for the single men, in case there's some watching or there's some even here, they said, dear single men, cut your coat according to your cloth. Don't pretend to be what you are not, just to attract a high-class woman when you can't afford her lifestyle. Expecting her Expecting her to live in deprivation and then labeling her vain when she refuses is unfair. It's open, and like I mentioned, we're also here to learn. Like I said, this is just based on their feedback, right? Then now, I think then they also about being expressive as a man. Don't bottle up your emotion, and there's that balance that Deji gave already at the beginning. I thought was brilliant because it's true. Okay, now let me answer. I'll end by answering the question that Deji asked earlier around being married to a successful woman or a strong woman, and I'll use myself as a personal example. I'm a strong woman. I'm the first girl, first female grandchild, first, all the things, and then I'm now in a job where you have to wear man pants when you're going to deal with some things. And usually, I remember when I first got married, one of the things my husband said to me was that me and you cannot wear the trousers in this house because literally we were struggling for one leg and one leg. I'm a bit, and then I'm a leader. By nature, I'm used to leading. I was head girl in primary school. I was the leader. I was a part of the student union. So I'm used to leading a group of people. So sometimes it's difficult to lead outside and come home and drop the leadership. You still, you go getter. You know what you want. And for a man, I don't even know how my husband married me. Let me not lie. I'm being honest with you. And to be honest, I always say to him that I don't know that could have married me because God gave you a special grace. It's sometimes it's nice outside, but marriage opens your eyes to who you are. I didn't even know I was like that until I got married. So it made me see that you are not ideal, or you that you're making shaka. That's why they married you. So one of the things that helps if you're married to a strong woman, and this is what my husband did. One is that you have to be a secure man. So you cannot be threatened by her because you married, like what the women were saying, you married a successful woman. Please don't get in and begin to compare yourself to her or make it a competition. What my husband does really great is that any job I'm on, he's as involved in the job as I am. If it's a role I'm taking, he reads about, he gets to know about the sector. So we're able to talk about it. He's able to lead me in that way. So it's not passive, and it's very empowering for me. The second is that he gives me what money cannot buy. So every time we measure security from a man's perspective as monetary, but there are many rich men, and there are many rich men I could have married when I was single. But I don't think the marriage would have worked as much as it is because my husband gives me what money cannot buy. And sometimes we underestimate the value of that in a marriage to a successful woman. So, like what they say, that you cannot marry your job. At the end of the day, no matter how powerful you are, there's still a void for a woman. That emotional connection, intimacy, what a husband provides. The fact that what Pastor Toyin is going, I'm going home, the generator is fixed. To be honest, many women don't want to be bosses at home and bosses outside and bosses at home. You want to come home and feel like a woman. My husband makes me feel like a woman. I can be vulnerable with him. He handles everything. I literally don't know, as much as I'm a boss outside, I don't know how to do anything in terms of electrical. If when he travels, I am, those cartoon illustrations that say when you're traveling with your husband, you don't have sense anymore. I'm like that. There's one time I left my passport, as responsible as I am, left the passport, and he got to the airport. As we got there, he said, "Babe, where's your passport?" And I was at the international airport, and we're running. He just brought it up because he already knew that I will forget it. I don't have brain when I'm with him. So that is good for me. When I'm with my people, when I'm leading, I cannot forget my passport. I'm too responsible for that. But when I'm with him, I forget because I'm not thinking. He gives me the space to go on holiday when I'm with him. So those are things that, and I'm saying that it doesn't have monetary value. You can have a very successful man and he's not meeting you at that point. Those are invaluable things for me. Money cannot buy that. So give her what money cannot buy. Then he's my home. I can be vulnerable with him. Then also I want a spiritually mature man. There's an altar that oils what people see outside. That's a value he brings for us. It is sexy to see him lay hands on the children, or when I see him praying in the morning, praying for us as a family. I know I'm covered. I have spiritual covering. He's the priest of the home. So can you be the priest of your home to that strong woman? So those are some of the things. Then he protects me, makes me feel secure. Then when Pastor Toyin, and I'll end here, that when she talks about women are incubators and we give what you give to us. I remember before I going as my husband used to make fun of me that where did he meet me? Before, at least thank God he nurtured me I blossomed in his home. But I remember when I didn't have a job, my husband was he gave me everything that he owned. Everything. I lacked for nothing. He gave me his card. I had access to all his money, everything. He never one day made me feel like a liability or a lazy woman. I will never in my life forget that. So no matter how much money or height I get to, I always tell him when he's telling me, oh, thank you for, I'm like, babe, you set the pace. You showed me what it meant. And thank God he never knew that I was working at Arise. He didn't do anything. He was just being himself. So in that way too, we don't know what life might throw at us tomorrow. And so I asked that please lead. Women are willing to follow and take your lead and multiply that which you are giving to them. Thank you.
What if it happened to you before? My wife there says, I had a dream or some intuition about somebody, like, I didn't even talk to this person, right? What does that mean? Should I take it serious or should I just...
The first thing is that trust your woman's intuition. Yeah. I promise you. I think maybe 9 out of 10 times when the women have told my husband, yes, I just don't want to be too proud by saying 10 out of 10. Especially if you're married to a godly woman. Yeah. Sometimes, yes, it can be, because there's a thin line between being manipulative as well. Because sometimes you can be spiritually manipulative because you don't want your husband to talk to a particular person. You now use, God gave me intuition. Don't maybe just have feelings and there's nothing there. I love what you said, Deji. So you already answered the question in the area of sometimes what she wants at that time is assurance and reassurance that you are the only one. For one of the woman's greatest needs, one of it is security. And it's not just financial security, it's emotional security. The fact that I matter to you. Like, no matter how bonded you are, I still want to hear. Why do you think I want to hear I love you frequently? It's not foolish. It's just a need that we have. It's just in a way that we might not understand fully. Ego is the way you might not understand that need for reaffirmation. So I hope that helps.
Thank you very much.
The way you communicate something is too important. It's the way you communicate it that will make the person either receive what you're saying or just be defensive. So once you communicate something in a way that is accusing your spouse, they're going to get defensive. They're not going to hear you. So you have to say it in a way that is not about accusing them. It's when you say it's not you, it's me. You need to make it about you and say that, look, I'm not saying that you are not helpful. I'm not you. And I always say, let's use the sandwich method. Start with good positive feedback before you put in the not so great part. Let me tell you something. If you give your wife great sex, and please disagree with me if you want to disagree, she will want sex. You need to be truthful to yourself that maybe I am not giving her what she considers great sex. Yeah. Yeah. Because if you are, she will want it. Why wouldn't she want it? Do you understand? Then you also need to understand that for women, sometimes it's not the sex. In fact, a lot of times it's not the sex. It is that you don't respect me. And then you want to do Django rubber. So sometimes it's baggage from something else that is being brought to that place. And it is in your interest to try and resolve that baggage so that it will not be brought there. Honestly, if you pay a woman attention, you do acts of service. We talk about love languages. I dare to say that everybody loves acts of service. Life has reduced men to money. Yes. Yeah. Life has reduced men to say, if you don't, and that's why when you don't have money, you are depressed because you think that you are nothing. Because meanwhile, if you are getting solid feedback from your wife that, oh, maybe we don't have money right now, but what you are giving me, I appreciate it. Do you understand? And sometimes you need to encourage that your wife to appreciate you if she's not as much as she ought to. I also said it that we need to take that back to the women as well. That you ought to be appreciated. The Bible knew that we will do this, that we will equate a man's worth to money. And the Bible specifically addressed it, that a man's worth is not money. You cannot reduce it to money. And sometimes the way we are relating with your wife, you are the one reducing it to money. You are the one that decides to be depressed because you don't have money. You are the one that decides that you're not going to have fun in the house because there's no money. Because you have this mindset that I don't have money, I cannot please my wife. It even affects you, your sex life. Don't reduce yourself to money, please. There's so many other things you can be to your wife that especially these days, a lot of women make money. So someone like me, I make money. I do, and I plan to make more. So it's not money that you're going to use to impress me. Oh, but you can impress me by using money to spoil me. Oh, yes. One of the things God wanted me to tell you, please don't sacrifice your family for your dream. Can I say that again? Do not sacrifice your family for your dream. I have seen men who insist on following their dreams, following a particular line of work. So your family is suffering. The work is not working. Let's use an example. Maybe you are a producer. That is your dream. So you now are not making any money because you're chasing this dream. Your wife is suffering. Your children are suffering. You may have to take a job that has nothing to do with your dream. It is a sacrifice. Does it mean you should give up on your dream? No. But do not sacrifice. Don't insist that this is the only thing you want to do. This is my purpose, and you must sit with it while your children don't have food. Your wife has to now do work for both of you. No. And what I'd like to say to you, the way the thought came to me was more like a word of prophecy, like there's someone that feels that I had made a mistake. I got it wrong. And so you feel lost. You feel hopeless. You feel like I can't go back. What do I do? But I want to remind you that that's why I spoke about superior wisdom. There's the way the Bible explains it, it says that there is no problem that would ever enter your life, that God will allow to enter your life, that does not have a solution. It always comes as twins, the problem and the solution. So don't ever feel hopeless. There is a solution. The same way a GPS can reroute, God is able to help you reroute. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Because try and imagine if you got lost using a map and then you now have to reroute. You will waste time. There are consequences. Let's face it. So you will go through certain consequences. Maybe certain things that could have taken you faster to build because you didn't marry the real woman you should have married. It's taking you longer. But can you regroup? Yes. Can you reroute? Yes. Can you rebuild? Yes. And one of the ways to do that is to become self-aware. You now understand the trouble you have entered. You also understand the weakness of the person that you are married to. And there's a way to make most of it, whether we believe it or not. I spoke about contentment. It is also contentment to decide that, well, this is who I have married, and I'm going to love her. I'm going to tell you guys, that's one of the decisions I have made. I have made a decision that this is who I married, and I'm going to love him. I'm going to overlook certain things that maybe other women will not overlook.
Also, Pastor said something at the very beginning that this is every man should know his wife. So everyone should know the best form of communication or the best way to communicate to your wife. Some people, a conversation is okay. Some people might need an elaborate preamble. Some people might need a family member. They're more comfortable like that. So yes, a police officer, yeah. Some people, you know, you have to wet the ground. So I think in divulging information, the end result is possibly, I think also is consequence management. So I think you should play the scenario in your mind that it goes to be bad. Because one of the reasons why men don't divulge is that they don't want drama. They don't want, oh, you are now talking, in 2 days, you now practice the 2 years. Practice the 2 years in advance. So make room for that in advance that it's going to happen. Maybe to help when you manage your expectations so that you're not like how you are now. It would help you as well. Because a lot of times why men don't, or I feel, is because of the consequence. You know, I said earlier on around even infidelity, that it's the way and manner in which it is done, almost to the point of gaslighting, where there's no sense of ownership, or you just don't want that kind of drama. And drama is going to happen. It is going to happen. So I think also be kind to your spouse by not expecting the miraculous, whereby they will take it and you say, don't react to it. They will react. If they don't react, you are causing them to bottle up their emotion. And then one day it might come out when you don't want it to come out in the same way. So I think give that person the grace of the fact that they're talking to a human being. So there's going to be a reaction. Hope that the reaction will not be too catastrophic, but prepare for it anyway. And then understand the way that your spouse communicates. For some it might be that, but I think the end point is, it is a good idea to tell. Open, we'll often say naked and unashamed. And if for those who are not married, I would say that timing is also important. Where you can ensure that before you get married, especially if you know that you're going to marry the person, let it be known. Now, Pastor Mairo used to say something that when you're in a casual relationship, there are levels and degrees of information that you release. You don't say everything just in case it doesn't work and you don't want your information out there with A, B, and C. When you get to the point where you know you're going to get into a committed relationship, please get into the marriage with let the woman marry you with, yes, let her marry you for who you are. I think it's very unfair to get into marriage hiding some important information, and then you now unleash it in marriage where the woman is almost trapped, cannot make a decision to leave her. It's very unfair, and it happens both ways. So in speaking to the unmarried men, please, if there's any secret, this is a good time to tell the person. So you give, even if you're afraid of loss. If you're afraid of loss and you go into the marriage, that means that you've gone with deception. You marry, in fact, there are certain grounds for divorce on that because it's based on deception. So please, if you can, before you get married, reveal all. Let the person marry all of you, information received, and don't hide anything. But after marriage is when you then begin to manage, okay, do I call a family member in? Do I time it right? Is this a good, don't tell her just before an important event and you destroy the entire thing. Because really to now, as you are leaving this meeting, tomorrow is our 40th, and I said, well, we just came for men's policy, you now come and tell her, no.
I don't add that. Please check with the counselor first too. Give the specific details to a counselor and you guys decide how you want to do it. Yeah, so you get some guidance. Yeah.
Having a child outside of marriage.
It's not. Yeah. And also, speaking of the areas to disclose, there's health, because I know that we overlook that. If there's any health issue you have, you need to disclose it to your spouse. There's finance. There's family. Background, family patterns, family, maybe in your family, the cultures and exactly. Yes, you need to, because your wife will feel betrayed, and that's the truth.
Thank you. So, how should men show up, right, when waiting for children? How should men not just lead in prayer, but support and take action? What is your view about faith versus medicine and science? Because I've heard people say that God has given me a word, I'm not going to go to hospital for anything, and the wife wants hospital behavior, and you're like in conflict on that.
Thank you. So we waited for 7.5 years before having our children, and the kind of things I've heard ever since we shared our testimony, people who've been waiting for even longer and sharing different, also like what you said, Deji, around, oh, this is what God said to me, and I don't want to believe. Now, from a man's perspective, more than ever is when you need to be united, not just in words but in action. So number one is, don't ever make your wife feel like she's the only one on this journey, because infertility or waiting is both of you. Number two is that, because, and I think it's social construct because of the kind of culture we're in, whereby it's a double hit on your ego for a man to imagine that for any reason that he's the one responsible for it. But I think that we are kingdom men by the grace of God, and we know that a man can be responsible, and it's not the end of the world. Science has progressed in such a way that even when the man is, there's something not right there, there are certain things that can happen or introduce, but you have to know first of all before it is done. So the fact that, and then I think just agreeing with your wife in terms of confidentiality, nobody else outside both of you has to know. Nobody else. If it means you going out of Lagos to go for the test, and then do it. Because I still want to respect your ego. I still want to respect your pride. So you can devise ways to make it easier for you, but the end goal is do it, right? Go out and do it, get checked. It's not usually the end of the world. And it also makes your wife feel supported. Again, society should not define what happens in your marriage. It should be between both of you. Be honest with yourselves enough to know that. Now, I think when we were waiting, for me, sometimes I wanted the child even more because of my husband than for me. Because, from a wife's perspective, his friends are getting children. So I want you to know as well that from a woman's perspective, we're thinking of you too. We want you to be fathers, we want to recognize. And so you being able to share how you're feeling helps a lot. And it empowers you to know that, okay, because there's the flip side of you feeling like the man doesn't care enough, or he's not bothered because he's a guy, that he affects a woman disproportionately in this part of the world. So share with her once in a while how you feel, if you can't talk about it all the time. Pray together, encourage each other. Your greatest ally is the person who is going through the same thing exactly the way you're going through it. Do you understand? You both are exactly at the same, you're waiting for the same thing. You both have been married for the same amount of time. Do you understand? Protect her from external forces. And I say this from an African perspective, especially the in-laws. Don't let people speak to her in a way that would diminish her as a person. Because if they insult her, they're insulting you indirectly. So I think more than ever, protect your wife in that instance. Now, with regards to science, one of the things that God, I believe, is demystifying or debunking at this time is this thing around, if you have if you want to relate it, in the past, if you had CS, you are seen as less than a woman. I know beggars belief. I can't even imagine. Till today, some people still hide the fact that they had by cesarean section. That how ridiculous it sounds. That's how in a few years it will sound when you're like IVF, they are not real children. Or intervention or IUI, they are not real children. It is ludicrous. And I say this because there's no science as at now that gives children. And I say this, and I'm very deliberate about saying this. There's a point in the process, we went through IVF, there's a point in the process that the doctor will tell you that he has done all he can. It's left to God. Science, because if science could do it, we would not have any failed IVF at all. Yeah. In fact, they can give you the best conditions possible. Everything is fine, and you will still not have children. So you have to recognize that the principle of childbirth in itself is a miracle. It's a mystery.
Two things I just wanted to pass on: that sex in marriage is enough. Don't let anybody lie to you. It's the same thing that they make you feel that everybody is having sex before marriage. Not everybody is. I didn't have sex before marriage. I know many people that didn't. They say also that men will always stray. You will not stray. Are you a dog? Yeah. Why would you stray? So if you agree that you stray, you are agreeing that I'm a dog. And the Bible says that a man that commits adultery is a fool. It says it in the books of Proverbs. And if God calls you a fool, trust me, you're a fool.
I guess I don't have an answer to that, but to be fair, I play very weird scenarios in my head sometimes. So I think I've seen that before where the lady, there was again some situation with, I think it was a church situation with a pastor, but anyway, long story, I've seen that forgiveness. So that for me, okay, I've seen it done before, okay, it's doable. However, I then imagine she gets pregnant, right? So you say responsibility of a man is to cover. I will now cover someone else's child and pay bills. So that's where I'm like, God, I beg. I start to pray with my wife. That God, please, let it not be, because I can't answer the question. If it's just it happened, I can understand that to be fair, but you then have or get pregnant. I can't tell you to abort, right? You then bring a child. To this world, and child looks like the father. How would you explain that your fourth child or whatever is not your own? You are covering, but yeah.
I think you should be very honest with yourself. You can't do it. You can't. I think you should be very, because it will be unfair for you to, because then the marriage is as well as over. Anyway, you are just not over, because if you are living in resentment, or you are going to raise up a child that is innocent of everything in a hostile environment, then don't do it. The Bible does give infidelity as a ground for divorce. The higher calling is to forgive. But if you know you cannot do it, don't make each other miserable. I pray for the grace of God to enable you not, to hold yourself. But if you know that you can't, maybe just staying apart at least for a while to see yourself recover. But please don't provide a toxic environment, because of the fact, I think it's unfair to do that. And I also, just in addition to what you're saying around not reminding the person, not saying it again and again when your spouse, also don't make it seem as if you are doing the person a favor for life because you forgave the person. So every time you make the person be holding to you for life, that, I forgave you and I'm not telling anybody, then it becomes almost like a hostage situation and you have something on the person. That's unfair too. If you are forgiving, you are forgiving totally. If you are forgiving, you are not bringing it up again. If you are forgiving like Christ, as if the sin never happened. And I pray, it's a tough call. I'm not saying it because it's easy, but I'm saying it that it is possible by the grace of God, and just to understand the extent of what forgiveness looks like. So if you're in that situation currently, please don't bring it up again in conversation. Please don't treat your spouse like a second-class citizen because you deemed it in your goodwill to forgive, because God doesn't treat us that way.
Amazing.
As we were speaking, I got a flash, and one of the prayers that was prayed for me was that I would not overlook anything. I got a flash of someone sleeping with their colleague, and what God wants you to know is that you have grace is available for you to stop. And the reason why that grace is available for you to stop is because it may cost you your life. And because of God's love is why he's stopping it. It's not even, so if you're that person, I don't know if you're here or you're online, there is grace available. No need to condemn. God is not condemning you. He's actually telling you that there is grace available for you to stop, and you need to stop as it may cost you your life.
Two things: prophecies to redeem, right? And number two, remember I said she was pre-coco. So again, it's just, be wise, simple.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm conscious of time, so I'll just go straight to the point. So I zeroed in on the point around leadership, and honestly, my opinion is that I think that sometimes the whole the man taking the lead thing, sometimes I think is a pick and choose thing for women. And the reason I say so is this. Now, if you trust my leadership in A, you should be able to trust my leadership in B. But so what I find sometimes is that on certain matters that naturally has their alignment, they will trust your leadership, but there are several times when they will push back. So my question now becomes, at that point, a man becomes conflicted. Okay, well, I mean, I'm supposed to show leadership and all of that. So why are you trusting my judgment in this? I'm not trusting my judgment in that. I mean, I'm not saying follow like a zombie, but you should be able to trust my judgment that, okay, if I was right on this score, I should very likely be right on this other one. So that's just my thinking around this, which I thought I should share.
All right, good evening. Excuse me. It's been an honor hearing more experienced people talk about marriage and all of that. I have a fiancée, and by God's grace, we're getting married on Saturday. And she's this kind of very soft, sweet, girly girl, and and I haven't had a lot of experience in terms of relationship. I've not dated anyone before her. And from this little experience I've had with her, there are times where it seems like she wants me to be her Superman. And she comes to me with certain things. What do I do in this kind of situation? I remember the time she called me and then we talked about the financial situation, and I had no idea at that point what to say, what to do. So I threw it back at her. What do you want? What do you think you want to do in this kind of situation? And then she said, I want you to tell me what to do. And I was in my mind. I was like, there are times where she comes to me, and by God's grace and wisdom, I know what to say. And then she said things like, you always have the right things to say. You always know what to do and all of that. But there are other times where I'm totally blank. And I can sense her disappointment. I can sense, how she feels in that situation. Or, I can sense how she feels, and I don't want to. I also feel bad disappointing her, and all of that. So how do I handle such? And that's one. Then secondly, when we're talking about chasing your dreams and not sacrificing your family for it, one thing that came to mind was Tyler Perry's Acrimony. You know the story. Taraji gave up on the guy early, and then he became. So where does that balance come in? Thank you.
Okay, let me answer first so Tiffany can wrap up. First of all, Acrimony is almost a demonic movie. I'm telling you. You know I'm saying that because what transpired in that movie can only happen in a movie. A lot of times, they made the exception the rule. That happens in exceptional cases because everything just, when with a movie, you have poetic freedom. So you can put in, so how was it so balanced that just on the verge of success, you get, and the danger with things like that is that it gives unrealistic expectations. So I think when it comes to real life or fiction, we should take it with a pinch of salt so that you don't present an exceptional situation as the rule. And there was no one that we went to watch the movie with that we didn't come out conflicted. It came out as a male versus, I don't know anyone that watched it and everybody agreed at the end. And that was the whole point of the movie. It was a marketing strategy. So we have to be careful about using fiction to define real life. But this man in Acrimony, you see what happens in real life. It cannot happen in real life like that all the time. It could happen in like a 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000 situation. And you don't want to base your life based on exceptions. Do you understand? It's a movie. Right, so I think what just so as Toyin said, the facts, not fiction. This is what we should listen to. Then to the first one, congratulations on your wedding, and it's great, that you want to be Superman to your wife to be. I think that's really lovely. And I talked about earlier on women wanting that security, but I also think I was chatting with you are confusing with your name now, but Tolu, I don't know. I was chatting with him, and one of the things we had said was that you have to manage expectations because the only Superman is God. The only person that has answers to everything. I know it feeds the manly ego to imagine that you would meet all her needs, but then there would be disappointment in the marriage because it is practically impossible for you to meet all her needs. What you could do is, and I love the strategy you used, even though it didn't work, that what do you think? You to think now. But something else you could also do is that, because the idea is to show leadership. you know what, I don't know it at this moment, we can figure it out. Don't leave her, and he said, child, don't leave her hanging. So you can figure it out together. You can say, oh, you know what, I don't know this, but let me ask somebody. Do you understand? Or let me get counsel. But I think the idea she wants from you is not to leave her without something. So give her a hope, give her an opportunity to say that you can ask someone, but you are not the reservoir of all knowledge. You are not omniscient. You are a human being. And I think it's good to begin to manage expectations even from now, to let her know that, oh, sometimes you don't know everything. I'll ask somebody, but I know someone that can help me. So you can find a solution without being the all-knowing. You can help her out. With leadership, I mean, you're absolutely correct that we can pick and choose, and I don't think that there's any leader, even in this one, so you cannot know everything, you cannot lead everything. There'll be some things that I find that balance as well, that struggle with balance with my own husband. So because there are sometimes, yes, I want you to lead, but then sometimes I want to say that, you have to allow me to have you. You cannot always imagine that you're always right. I think that's the thing, that your leadership means that you're always right, so I have to always follow everything you say. I think if you let your spouse understand that I can fail, or there's room for you to also bring your contributions, and sometimes your contributions will supersede mine. It is that balance between I'm the leader and I am imposing it, so I am Mr. Know-it-all. That thing grates on our nerves as women, that you feel that because you're a leader, everything you say must be law. A good leader is an enabler. You enable those around you to flourish, and you know, after a while, even as a leader, you want to nurture them to the point where they can also take ownership, and you trust their decision based on your leadership.
Super, super. We are out of time before we get chased out of here. But I would say a big thank you, I guess, starting from our wonderful superwomen. Let's give it a kind of ovation. Let's do our gentlemen that we are. We truly do appreciate your time and your openness and your candor and being kind to us. You didn't come with daggers and you know. So thank you, TFA, thank you, AME, thank you for just again sharing and being a blessing to us today. And to those who are online, thank you for being online. I know we didn't take one or two more comments, but thank you for being here. Thank you for making our time.